Hi, this is Roger Smith of the True Blue Lounge, and today I interview a great friend, Adrian Hall. Adrian is a 1982 graduate from Mannings High School. Adrian, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well, my friend Roger. How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. So,
Excellent, excellent.
couple things. I've been warned not to call the school Mannings High School for some reason. It looked like the new thing is they call it Mannings School. Have you heard that?
No, I haven't heard that,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
that's interesting. Manning School, eh?
Yeah, the younger ones would admonish us for using saying things like that.
With high school.
Yep, yep.
Okay, I never heard that, but I guess
Yeah.
we'll hear when it comes when it happens.
All right. So I remember you as Adrian Hall. Tell us how the Hall Campbell came from. Where did that come from?
All right. Well, this was way back when I used to go to prep school. I went to Frome Prep. I don't know if you remember Frome, the sugar estate
Yep.
factory there. My grandfather was an accountant at the sugar estate, and he went to register me at the prep school that they had for the staff, and they assumed that I was his son. So they just registered me as Adrian Hall.
Okay.
But when the time came for me to take my common entrance exams, I had to put whatever was on my birth certificate.
Okay.
So I ended up coming to Mannings as Adrian Campbell. But a
Okay.
lot of the students that I went to prep school with, it would confuse them. So I just went as Hall Campbell while I was there. So some people know me as Adrian Hall, some people know me as Adrian Campbell. So that's where Campbell came from.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you went to Froome Prep. So I didn't. So I knew you lived in that Cornwall, in that Cairn piece near Amity. I'm gonna say it's near Amity, or was it
Yeah.
closer to George's Plain End? No, it was closer to Amity, wasn't it?
It was closer to Amity, but I moved to Cornwall, you know, when I was actually maybe about 9 or 10 years old, and it was almost time for me to take common entrance.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
because we used to live over on the compound at Frome,
Uh huh.
because my grandfather worked for the estate, so we moved from different areas. We went to Frome, we went to Cornwall. There was even one time we lived at Mount Eagle. You probably wouldn't know that area, but
No,
this
no,
is
no, I don't.
back in the west side of Westmoreland.
Uh huh.
So yes, I went to Frome Prep.
See, see.
So when I was living at Amity, I used to take the bus from Amity to Sav, and then a bus from Sav to Frome to go to prep school.
Oh wow.
And then after passing my common entrance and then going to Mannings, then I would just take the bus directly from Amity to Mannings.
So let me ask you this: why didn't you go from Amity to George's Plain to Froome?
There are no buses in those roads, but there are no
Okay,
buses
yes,
running
yes,
back
yes, yes.
there.
Yeah, that was a rough road. That was a real
That was a
bad
rough
road.
road, man. You'd have to get a bike ride or something. There are no buses
Yeah,
through
yeah.
that little. It was definitely a shorter distance
Seen.
because it's the diagonal, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I remember you starting a man in school. You look like you came later, or did you come on the
No,
first day?
I came on the first day. I
Okay,
came on the
okay.
first day. Yeah.
Why it was so memorable to me was we all thought you were a foreigner because of the way you introduced yourself. But it made that,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah, that must be the good breeding, and the good speaking on the Froome compound. You know what I mean?
Quite possible, but Roger, I don't remember anything about that. You have to kind of give me a little rendition of what I sounded like. I remember what you sounded like,
All
and I
right.
remember what
So
a lot of
so
other.
so all we heard was my name's Adrian Hall. It's something like that. It was, but it sounded. It was one of them sounds that everyone's gonna look back around in the class and says, "Who said that?" You know what I mean?
Who said that?
Yeah. So it was
Yeah,
very colorful at the time.
yeah.
All right.
Growing up, my mom was always into English. So it was proper English, proper English. You can't go to her with any broken English. It's
Okay.
always proper English. So maybe that's a part of it too.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. And you still sound very colonized now.
You know what?
And eloquent.
Eloquent. But you
Yeah,
know what?
but yeah.
Since coming to Canada, I learned that I'm bilingual.
Okay.
All my life, I only spoke one language, but since I came to Canada, I'm now bilingual. I speak English and I speak Jamaican,
Okay.
so I can flip from one to the other. So
Okay, make sure you can still talk patois though,
No,
because
man, we got you, man. We
all
got you,
right,
man.
because you can't make someone like me out patois,
No,
because
no, no.
all
Your
right,
your pattern not as strong as mine. I tell you,
good,
buddy.
good,
Promise me.
good, good.
I
All right,
promise you. Yeah.
so you've watched a couple of my videos, so I'm going to do a little cognitive test with you. Could you name six girls out of our class in first form?
Oh man, you know what? This cognitive test. Which first one we talking? 1G,
No, one H.
1H.
Yeah,
No,
Miss, Mr. Coot.
Mr. Coots class.
Yes.
You know what, Roger? I'd have to go study up on that. I never
Wow.
studied for this test.
All right, good,
But
good. Hey, no, I'm just
I
making sure. Just want to know who I'm talking to. All right,
yeah,
so let me ask you this: Are you an Android user or a Mac?
I am on cell phones. I'm Mac, but on PCs and laptops, I
Windows.
am Windows.
Okay, okay,
So
Windows.
I haven't gone over to the Android side on my mobiles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you a drinker?
Casually.
And
I'll take a drink
what's
now
your
and then.
poison? What's your poison?
You know what? I like vodka, Ciroc, or Grey Goose.
Okay.
But recently, I've been drinking rum cream. You know the Sangster's rum cream
Yes, yes,
from,
yes.
from Jamaica. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I've
That
been
that that that
indulging in that.
that will get you going pretty quick because it's nice and sweet. It goes down well.
Nice and sweet. Yeah,
You don't even realize you're drinking quite a bit of it. So what
right.
about
You think? Yeah, go ahead.
sorry, what about rums? You don't mess around with rum?
You know, I have Appleton once in a while, but the nightcap that I like, especially when I'm on vacation, is 2 shots of rum cream, 2 shots of Appleton on ice.
Wow.
So so that's like a nightcap. That will just put you right out. So, but yeah,
What
so
about food? What's so if you're going to a typical Canadian restaurant, and I just mean,
yeah,
where would you go to eat? What's a typical? I want to go somewhere really nice. Where are you going? Taking your wife somewhere to eat.
you know what? We don't eat out very often, so that's kind of one of those things that we don't do. But we don't typically go for the North American food. We're more, on the Caribbean staples. Apart from the typical jerk chicken, the oxtail, the escovitch fish, stuff like that. I enjoy a nice piece of baked salmon. And
Okay.
that's my favorite. So my wife does a really good job at that. But in terms of restaurants and so on, there's a few that we've been to, like Italian restaurants that I like. There's yeah, we don't really eat out that often,
Okay.
honestly. So
What's
whenever we have any special occasion, we'll actually just go to like a seafood restaurant that we like, called Captain's Boil.
okay? So you were in Jamaica recently.
Yeah.
What was nice? What did you eat over in Jamaica that you thought, man, I like this?
You know what? We were at the resort. We stayed at the resort, and it was kind of a welcome change to go down for breakfast, and we'd see some ackee and saltfish and some fried bami.
Okay.
I really went to town when that was served on certain days. So that was something that I really enjoyed having. I do have it here in Canada, but just to get it on the resort, um, yeah, that was kind of a nice touch, and it tasted really authentic. So the chef really did a good job on that.
Yeah. I remember when me and you first started talking, since we ain't seen each other for like 45 years or something like that.
You know,
And you
man.
and you reminded me of us spending our bus fare playing this car racing game in Dunbar's River. And
Yes,
it was really funny that when you told me the story, I remembered it so well. And I'm thinking, imagine having to walk home because you spent off your bus fare. And that was a regular occurrence.
that was a regular thing, Roger. And I mean, now that we're older, we think we're wiser. Um, but back then, we did those things because you're youth, and it's just enjoying the moment.
Yeah, yeah,
just enjoying the moment. And we did it because back then in those days, walking on the street by yourself, even if it gets dark, you have no fear of any wrongdoers or anything like that. So now, now that I have children, I
yeah,
think we are more overprotective of them than anything else, right? Because my kid never actually took a bus until they're like 15,
wow,
right? Because we'd take them everywhere, right?
right.
So at one point, my son said, "Dad, I'm going to go take the bus. Even if I get lost, I don't care. I just want to go." So yeah, so that's when we kind of opened up and let them do their thing. But yeah,
So, talk to me about through high school. So I don't know. I don't know much about fourth form and fifth form because I was only there
right.
for the first three. So, who did you used to go to lunch with most lunch times, or it didn't matter? It was anybody.
You know what? Loy Ennis, Garvey, and
Okay.
Loy had a couple brothers.
Uh huh.
And I remember going to lunch with I think Kenneth Banhan and a few of those guys. Would go
Okay.
down to Sinclair's or Hurry Hurry.
Uh huh.
Hurry had a restaurant
Uh huh.
inside of that same building, and we
Okay.
would go there. We could get like patty and a cocoa bread and a drink
Is
or
this like
a
fourth,
bowl of
fifth
soup.
form? Is this fourth, fifth form you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah, Fort Fifth Farm, yeah,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
yeah, for
Same.
sure.
Same.
Because
Same.
that was
Same.
our regular thing, and or we would go across the street to the Browns bakery,
Okay.
Monarch Bakery, where they had hot bread and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of what we would do for lunch.
You know, I told my
Yeah,
son the other day that it was normal for me to eat just peg bread, and a drink.
yeah,
And he's like, "What? Just bread?" And I'm like, "Yeah, just bread." And every now and
yeah.
again, we'll get a piece of cheese, dry bread and cheese. You had dry bread and cheese? I said, "Yeah, and a box drink, like orange juice or something."
Yeah,
And the look on his face, and when I think
yeah.
back at it, think about it, we were eating dry bread, sometimes not even butter. The fact that it was hot and the smell was so nice to us, it was, you know what I mean?
That's the best thing, man. I tell you, hot bread. Like you said, no butter. But back then, we were young, right? You didn't have to worry too much about the macros, right?
No,
How much
no, no, no,
protein,
no
how much
nutrition.
protein you're taking in.
Yeah. Wow, amazing, amazing. Boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
So Adrian, talk to me about what you remember about your graduation day. Tell me about your graduation day, and from there to where you are now. Just walk me through that history, if you can, please.
Oh, Roger, man, you gotta test my memory now. This is like 44 years ago now, 45 years ago. Anyways, so my graduation day, I remember we end up graduating, and that year, for some reason, the school said that the fifth formers wouldn't have a prom or any kind of celebration. And I remember one of my classmates, I don't know if you remember David Rigg, his dad
Yeah, I
lived
remember
on
David
the,
Rick.
the,
Yeah.
Froome, the Froome compound, and his father was the general manager of the sugar factory. So he had one of those nice houses at the very close to the entrance of that Froome compound. So yeah, so we somehow David's parents agreed for us to have our party there. So literally, the fifth form class went and we had a prom at David's house. It was a really nice time. I enjoyed ourselves. Maybe we had maybe about 150 people there,
Wow.
of all different forms. So after graduating, I didn't go to sixth form. I went and I worked with helped my aunt. We had a bakery in Green Hill. My family had a bakery in Green Hill. So I worked with her for a little while. And then shortly after, I migrated to Canada. So since coming to Canada, I went back to school here, and I have my degree in computer information systems. So I have a bachelor's of science in computer information systems. I really took on to computers. I never touched a computer in my life before coming to Canada. Literally, the closest I've been to a computer was seeing it on TV. But I
Wow.
really excelled at that. I mean, it was like second nature for me. So since graduating, I've worked with a lot of different organizations here in Canada. Actually started teaching, Roger. I
Wow.
actually became a teacher, but I taught adults. So I actually would do these training classes every 6 to 8 weeks. I'd have a different group of students, and these are adults in their 40s going on to their 50s who've never touched a computer. And I taught them computer basics all the way up to where they would be proficient. So I did that for about 10 years after graduating, and at the same time starting my own consulting business. So I was actually taking what I've learned in the corporate world into the classroom. So being able to actually marry those two worlds together, the students thought I was kind of God's gift to computers. There's no question I couldn't answer. So I really enjoyed that. That was really one of the best, not really the best job, but the most gratifying um, job that you could have is when you can see that the light going on for someone. It's instant gratification, right? Working in the corporate world, you work on a project for 3, 6, 8 months. You don't necessarily get that same feeling on a daily basis. It's at the end of the project when things are live and people are using the software where you actually get that gratification. But I love teaching. I'm a consummate teacher. I'm always teaching. Even with my corporate clients, they'll be asking me something and I'm teaching them, right? I explain to them exactly what's happening. So that I really enjoy doing. So, you know, like I said, was teaching for about 10 years, running my consulting business. I've also worked with a lot of engineering firms. And now I work with I'm in Ontario, Canada. We have entity called the Ontario Health, which is a combination of multiple agencies that's come together to create this mega agency that runs all the healthcare in Ontario. So I'm now a project manager within we call it the Ministry of Health, but we are kind of an entity under the Ministry of Health. So we report up to the Ministry of Health. So
Okay.
whatever the Ministry of Health mandate is for making healthcare better, streamlining, making healthcare more accessible, when that mandate comes, we kind of try to make it happen.
Okay.
So, there are like 21 different agencies that came together to create this mega agency that now looks after all healthcare in Ontario. So as a project manager, I help to work on software, right? So I help developers and business analysts and quality assurance folks to, put out the best quality software that we know will help Ontarians in general to access healthcare and access better healthcare and faster.
Nice.
So that's what I've been up to the last few years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So have you done any jobs you don't like?
Oh, that one. If have I done any jobs I don't like? You know what? Any job that I did while I was going to school, they were very transitory, and for me, they were stepping stones. Um, I wouldn't say I didn't like the jobs, but they're not the jobs that you want to put on your resume,
Right,
right?
right, right.
I, I just
What's the hardest job you ever done?
the hardest job I ever done. You remember Sears?
Yes.
Actually, it's not a very hard job because so Sears had a home delivery section, a home delivery department where you could have this catalog, right? And you'd call up the sales rep and you'd order stuff, and then a few days later it gets delivered. So I used to work at the section that delivers the products, but I wasn't a delivery person. I was working for Sears as they referred to me as a checker. So imagine this, Roger. The night before, all the orders come to the distribution center and they get loaded into different bays where the drivers would pick them up in the morning. So the driver would go into bay number 8 and he'll see all his packages for that day. And he would load his truck in the order in which, he knows his delivery will take him. And, from time to time, there may be an item that's missing where he says, "Hey, this is not on the shelf, so therefore he cannot be responsible for it." So my job was to go over there and check to make sure that the item is in fact not there and remove it from his list because back in those days it was COD, right? Cash on delivery. So if there's $10,000 worth of goods for him to collect money on, so I had to remove it from his list. So that was my job, was a checker. But we had like 30 people, right? So that was my job each morning. And I would go to work at like 4 in the morning because I was going to school. And this was my little part-time gig. So I'd go 4 in the morning, maybe for 4 hours, and I just run up and down, make sure that, if the person says, "Oh, this watch, for example, that I'm supposed to deliver, I can't find it," right? So I'd have to make a judgment call, right? And sometimes, you just can't trust people, but, my job was to just take it off, make sure that their amount that's owing is reduced by that amount. And yes, sometimes there's some questionable ones. So occasionally they would have audits where, while the truck is leaving, they would actually get stopped at the gate and security would actually search the truck. Not based on my saying, but they do these random audits just to make sure that people are not
Keep keep
hiding
people on their
stuff
toes as well. Yeah.
on their toes. Yeah, so that wasn't the work. It's not a job that I really really enjoyed, but it's a stepping stone, right? It got me to where I needed to be. Um, so I've done a few of those. I worked with the post office. So I was a post office sorting mail. Again, this was while I was going to school. And wherever I went to, Roger, my personality kind of took over because I'm studying computers, and as soon as something happens, I'm the one that they call. That's not my job, right? But they know that I have a little bit more knowledge than the regular
You
bear.
you were
So
you were you were much more carefree as a youngster, and I wonder, do you have a little bit of that recklessness in you
me,
still? Yeah.
I think so, man. There's a little bit of recklessness in
Because
everybody,
I
right?
no well, as you know how I used to give trouble at school.
Roger, you could never stay still. I don't
Oh,
know, man.
okay.
You
Well,
had
well, it
you had
ain't
like ants
changed.
in your pants.
It hasn't changed. Yeah, I'm always in trouble, always giving trouble.
Yeah,
It's a way. So,
yeah.
have you got any vices?
I probably used to, but not anymore.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, when I was going to school, I used to, smoke the occasional cigarette here and there, but that was
But,
about it.
but you look like you go to the gym too much, so that could be a vice, that may I talk about,
No,
when we
man, that's no
survive.
vice, man. It's a
Yeah.
good thing.
No, no,
It's
no,
a
no,
good
no, no,
thing.
no, no. Hey, you say it's a good thing. It could be how many days a week you talking about?
7 days a week.
You know, each joint you have a certain amount of time. It have like like the elbow have like 50, the knee have like 60, and if you keep on putting all them heavy weight too much, after a while you wear the joints out.
Man,
That's
but
just
the thing is, if you don't use it, you lose it,
yes, yes, yes,
right?
yes.
That's the thing. So everything in moderation. And
So you
I
go to the
think,
gym 7 days a week if you could.
yeah, I do go. I work out 7 days a week.
Okay,
Not to the gym. We have a home gym.
okay, okay, okay.
So we do a bit of stuff at home. But yeah, I do, some kettlebells, do CrossFit. Um, I used to do outdoor cycling. We used to ride our bikes. My wife and I would ride like
I wanna,
for
I wanna, I wanna show you something.
yeah, show me.
I keep these
Oh wow, okay.
uh, um, at my desk so
Yeah,
that when I'm on conference calls and I'm not
yeah.
presenting, I have something to do because it's part of Roger can't keep still, So
Can't
I
keep still.
I have the and when you're working from home and you got 4 hours worth of meetings, what you gonna do in 4 hours? Sitting down listening,
I know.
So I do something.
Yeah, man, that's really good. That's good that you can do that. Yeah.
Tell me, tell me a difficult time in your life, Adrian, and how you overcame it.
Wow, that's a loaded question. A difficult time in my life and how I overcame
I'm
it.
trying to I'm trying to pick up how, if something adverse happened or you're put in a tight situation, whether it's in grief, whether it's job loss, whether it's
Yeah.
your money short, or your hand them too short and your pocket too long and they not meet. But how
Yeah.
you process it, what you do.
Yeah, interesting question, and I'm thinking about that for a second. And I just want to say that, I'm very thankful that I haven't really gotten to the situation where my hands are too short. I don't know what analogy you use for
Your
that one,
pocket,
but
your pocket long and you got short hands. It's a British
it's a British thing.
when somebody tight on and
Yeah,
no money. Yeah, yeah.
I
You know.
know. Yeah, so you know what? Even if those times have come, I never dwelt on them. But one thing that I can remember, though, my grandfather that I grew up with, he was sick in Westmoreland there in at Amity, and I was in school in the U.S. I was in school in Ohio, and he kept asking for me. He said, he wants Adrian wants me to come home. So I was doing my final exams, and I said, as soon as exams are over, I'm heading to Jamaica to see him. Unfortunately, when I came to Canada to fly out the next morning, when I came to Canada, they told me that my grandfather passed away a few days before that. And he literally said he tell Adrian that I couldn't wait. But while I was in school, the family actually made a decision not to tell me that he was, really, really low and he wanted to see me because I was just finishing up my exams in Ohio.
Right, right.
So that really shocked me to know that, maybe if I knew that, I would have, forego the exams, go down, and then maybe do a rewrite or something. But the fact that he passed away just a few days before I was actually able to go down, so that has stuck with me for all these years. Um, yeah, so that was, one of the trying times for me in terms of handling that grief, because I grew up with him.
Yes, yes.
When you understand the relationship that we had, I was with him every day. He would take me to school, take me home, and everything that I learned, to be a man, I learned from him, right? So literally, he was kind of the cornerstone in my life, along with my grandmother, of course. But yeah, he was kind of that stable there for me. But yeah, that was a challenging time for me.
How did you overcome it? You think?
You know what? I don't think I fully I overcome it by now, but just the grief of knowing that, if I knew that he was that low, I probably would have made a different decision. I probably would have left the US and flew to Jamaica directly, not come to Canada. But I think people are just thinking in my best interest. Because if they told me, they know that I would just
Drop what you're
blow up
doing.
the exams
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'd be
yeah,
heading straight to Jamaica, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
of the relationship that we had. So
Are you a man of faith? Are you a Christian or anything like that? And
yeah, yeah, I'm a Christian, yeah.
okay, and how does
Yeah.
that your faith help you through your life?
You know what? It's just the assurance that we'll see each other again, in the afterlife or in eternity. We have to kind of hold on to that. Nobody has actually gone there and come back and say, yes, this is how it is. But we have to have faith, right? We have to know that there is a higher power that is ruling us, and we have to believe in the Bible, right?
You said we have to. What do you mean we have to? You have to.
I'm
Oh,
saying that in general. I'm saying that in general, the human race, literally, because
no, no,
you
no,
know
no. But I disagree with you though. We don't have to. You have to.
I have to. Well, the we can exclude a few people, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
saying, if we look at the 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 um the possibility, of um an evolution, like where we came from, how did we end up here, right? There are a lot of things that we can't explain, but literally, if we went with the Big Bang theory, you know how many things had to line up in place by second, by millisecond, for us to be here at this moment, you and I, on this having this conversation. I think there's a higher power that actually orchestrated a lot of that, even if we have some twists and turns along the way and some outcomes that were not quite desirable, but we must have had to start from, a supreme being putting something together. It can't just be the rocks colliding and,
Right.
so again, I don't want to get into a lot of the
No,
theory,
no.
but
Hey, I love all this stuff, Adrian. So what I will say to you is that so we don't differ in our beliefs
yeah,
because we have this thing where humans we have to because we don't align ourselves, we take the extremities and we try to defend it. So
yeah,
I look at life a little bit different. So
okay,
I don't I'm not a believer, but that's because I just don't know. Not
yes,
knowing to me is okay. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
right,
Because the story is miraculous, whatever it is.
right,
But
right,
I don't buy the man in the sky that job. I don't buy that. But
yeah,
I'm not pointing to anything and saying, oh, this is likely or that is likely. And
yeah,
hey, I'm here. I got my bat. The ball's coming, and if I can make some fours and some sixes in the
yeah,
way, all good. I just want to be a good person, and I want Roger to be better today than he was yesterday, and tomorrow I want to be a little bit better. That's all.
yeah.
Yeah. So
I
if
agree
you
with
think
you.
about that, we're so close. Just
Yeah,
you like the Anansi story because it makes you feel good when you got a better night time, and I'm like, I don't know. So
yeah, man.
yeah. So
You know,
cremation or burial for you?
burial.
Why?
What? It's just the whole theory, right, of us being risen again, right? If you're cremated, it's gonna be a hard thing to put that back together. But I think if the bones are there, I don't think anybody
You
in my
see,
family ever got cremated. I
okay,
don't think
so
everybody in my
so so
family
this
ever
is
got
the way
cremated.
I'm looking at this. Yeah,
Yeah,
all these people that you think you're gonna see.
yeah.
Yeah, how old? What body do you think you're gonna be in? Your 9-year-old body, your 50-year-old body, your 10-year-old body? You know what I mean? So there's
I'm
so
gonna
much.
I'm gonna be
Go on.
in the prime of my life.
That's right.
In the prime of my life. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, and if everyone's in the prime, there better be a lot of honey and milk up there. I tell you that
yeah,
much
man. I
because
tell
it's
you,
gonna be
that's
war.
true. That's
Yeah,
true.
it's gonna be
That's
war.
true. Yeah,
So
but
Adrian, go on.
before we move on from that, like
Yeah.
you said, both of us kind of share the same philosophy. From a human standpoint, where like you said, you want to be a better version of yourself tomorrow than you were today. And likewise, I have kind of the same philosophy as well. My philosophy is I want to do all the good I can for as long as I can,
Yes.
right? So sometimes people will kind of take advantage of that, but that's just me, right? I kind of give people the benefit of the doubt, and that's how I live my life, is to
You know
do
what?
all the good I
You know what I like about having this forum. Here we
can.
are. We haven't spoken for donkey's years.
Yeah,
And at the end of the day, I want us to be able to film this, put it on YouTube, so people can see that everybody's just pretty normal. We're all living these relatively normal lives. And all of
yeah,
this pretense, all of this, nobody's running down university position, nobody a rundown woman or big job and all of this. Because after a while, you reach a stage in your life wherein even though you have that fire in your belly, it's for different things than you
yeah,
had at different ages. And I think it's beautiful that we can come together and we can just talk. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, man,
just
and
talk.
that's why I like the forum, right? I even like the name, the True Blue Media, the True Blue Lounge.
Yeah. We
I
sit
love
down
it.
and and normally, I used to insist that someone has a rum with them, but
Yeah,
and everybody like drink liquor, and you know what it's like. You're pushing rum, so you know what I mean. But that's me, I
yeah,
like I
yeah,
like a
man.
coke.
I think I drink once in a while.
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah. So what we want to do is one of these days we want to have a nice little meetup so we could all have a drink and chat, just the way
yeah,
we used to. You know what I mean? Yeah.
yeah, for sure, man. We should organize that somewhere in the where Jamaica, North America, name
Yes.
it.
Definitely.
We'll
Definitely.
make it happen. Yeah,
Yeah. So if you were to meet someone dead or alive, to have a meal with, so that you could just talk to them and pick their brains, who would that be?
Uh,
Or name me a couple of people.
Name me a couple of people, eh? You know what? Bob Marley sticks out. Although, you don't think that I would be a big Bob Marley fan, but when you look back at the work that he's done in terms of the music and just some of the lyrics, when you listen to those lyrics and what he's done for, the Jamaican music across the world, just kind of good to sit down with him, just kind of get into his head, understand, where did he get all these lyrics from? But he's a dread, right? He's a Rasta, so he's gonna say, "Oh yeah, man, when I smoke the weed, it gives me it gives me
Wisdom,
insight."
knowledge, and understanding.
And
Yeah.
understanding. Yeah, that would be an interesting sit down for sure. Yeah, he's the one
Not your
that.
granddad.
Yeah, I
Or
was gonna go lean in that
or
direction.
you'll see him in heaven.
I'll see him in heaven. There you go, Roger. You caught on to it.
Yeah, no,
I'll see
but
him in
you
heaven.
know, even though I may, I still have to be able to relate to different people and what they think.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so what sort of hobbies do you have?
You know what? Hobbies. I love physical activity. I like to work out, and my wife and I we cycle. So we go on the road. We haven't been last summer, but we're gonna take it up back this year. So we like to do that. We like to put our bikes on the car and take them out to a stretch of road that's not too busy. And we sometimes ride from home, but we'll do like 80 kilometers in the
That's a
morning.
lot. That's a lot.
That's a
Wow,
that's a long. It's like a 4 hour ride.
wow, wow, wow.
So we like
Have
to
you
do that.
have you taken a tumble off your bike, chip up yourself?
No,
Never.
never fell
Wow.
off the bike.
So I was riding in my
I'm a good
neighborhood.
rider. Eh?
Oh, a second. A
I'm a
second.
good rider. When I was younger, rather, when I was going to high school, I remember falling off a bike um, because I was showing off.
Right.
Because there were some girls around there, and I was showing off, and the bike just slid from under me, and I, got some road rash. But
Okay.
but not
Okay.
recently, not while I was riding as an adult here.
I've ridden as an adult, and I was in a neighborhood, not serious like how you ride in how much 80 kilometers, but I was in a neighborhood, and for some reason, I I was about to hit the curb because I didn't see it, or a curb.
Yeah.
Got on the front brake and went head over heels. Luckily, I didn't land on my head. I kind of landed comfortably on my back and rolled, and I
Okay.
just felt so lucky. But I didn't damage myself that much. But it was one of them things where you sell the bike quick and say, something, I'm gonna stay away from
Get
dangerous
scared from it.
activity. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man. That was all your skill, though. That's all your skill, right? You flipped over and
Yeah,
had a
self
soft land.
preservation,
Yeah.
self preservation, man. So do you go clubbing now? What do you do in the evenings when you come home from work?
I listen to music, man. I love listening to music.
Who you
But
listening to? Who you listening to apart from Bob?
apart from Bob, I'm listening to I listen to some reggae music. I listen to Beanie Man and Buju Banton. I don't like too much of the slackness. I like the conscious lyrics, and of course I listen to some gospel, some Sinach and stuff like that. But
Okay.
yeah, so that's just me. I just want to have something playing in the background. Um, but get home from work, we barbecue, we do a lot of stuff in the backyard. I just have a smoker. You smoke like a whole chicken or smoke like a brisket.
Okay.
Brisket take like 23 hours to smoke.
But off the bone though. No brisket. Very soft. It has to be
Very soft,
that
yeah.
kind
It's,
of.
it's low and slow, man. Low and slow. So my son-in-law, he loves to smoke. So he's an expert at it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
he's teaching me a few things.
So what have you got? Like the green egg? Is it called a green egg?
No, we have a bigger one than the green egg. Can't remember the name of it now, but yeah, we
Okay.
have like
Okay.
you can do like ten chickens on there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. See, serious.
Yeah,
Serious. Okay.
serious
Okay.
stuff. Yeah.
So when it comes to the music, I'm a little bit. So I do listen to. I'm not so much Beanie Man now, but before I
Yeah.
used to. I don't mind Vibes Cartel. I
Yeah.
don't mind Skilly Bangs, even Skeng. So I kind of stay pretty current, but I'm kind of weird like that because
Yeah.
I believe for me, like you hear in Jamaica, you hear this faction where some people say the music is influencing the violence in the country.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am one that always says, no matter where you go in the world, there's gonna be some underground music that is a story of what is happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So even though the
Yeah.
man them are no killer, them know people with killer heart or whatever it is, and it's just a mirror. So that's why I like to stay current with the music,
Yeah.
so I can listen while I go on. You know what I mean? But I listen to Egyptian, Bushman, and people like that. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So when I'm listening to stuff like that, seeing so who in Mannings lives in Ontario that you know?
You know what? There's nobody that I know personally. I've been trying to see if there's a connection. Um, no, I shouldn't say there's nobody. There used to be a group here in Ontario, like an alumni here in Toronto, but we haven't connected with them in ages. And they weren't in my group. They were kind of an older set. Um, so I'm gonna try to see if that faction still exists, if we can kind of start to
Okay.
connecting with them again. But I'm looking to see who in our group, our age, that lives in Ontario. I hear there's one person that's in London, Ontario, which is about an hour from us.
Right. Right.
Um, so I'm gonna look her up and see if we can get connected.
Okay. Do
But
you
yeah,
remember your first girlfriend from Mannings?
my first girlfriend from Mannings. Yeah, man, I remember my first girlfriend from Mannings. It's not really my girlfriend. It was just a girl that I would hang out with.
Okay. That's a nice way to put it. It's one of them questions. It's always difficult to answer when you're grown, isn't it?
When you're
It's like
grown, yeah.
okay. Let me is this a subject? Do I even want to think about my first girlfriend? I had a conversation with my son the other day,
Hmm.
and I says to him, I says, my son's 30, and I said to him, do you know what's really weird? I remember as a 12-year-old writing love letters to girl, like a girl I used to go to church with.
Yeah.
And it's just really, really weird how, I don't know if bored or romantic. I mean, where did all that go? Because kids nowadays don't do things like that. You know what I mean?
No, man,
Remember, you
not
have
at
to
all.
write it down. You get little, you know, I even used
Yeah.
to give it to someone to deliver. I used to know a bike man that lived near where she lived, and I know her, and you know what I mean. It was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
really, really weird how back in them days how we used to,
Just to
how life
communicate.
was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you
But
did you have a TV at home in Jamaica?
yeah, we had a TV. We had a black and white TV.
Okay, and that was in
Black
when
and
you
white
lived at Amity in Cornwall
Amity.
there.
Yeah. We had a black and white TV, and then we got a color one afterward. But yeah, we did have a TV.
How high was that pole that you had to put on that in over the cane
Just
piece there, the
just a
antenna?
standard pole, man, maybe 20 feet or something.
Okay,
We
okay.
actually had a booster. You ever heard of a booster?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So we were able to get a booster added to it, so we actually got decent reception. So some people would know about boosters, but boosters increase the frequency, better reception on your TV. Yeah, I remember what, and TV would sign off at 12 o'clock. So after 12 o'clock, you just see some lines. That's it.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
JBC back in the day. So, if I was to ask you what your favorite movies were, what sort of things do you like watching?
I like watching action movie, thrillers, action movie. Like there's one that I watched recently. Is it with Denzel? Denzel, is it Vigilante? Yeah, I think he
There's
has
lots of
maybe.
those types of movies, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm into the introduction movies. I like the Fast and the Furious saga as well. Into those. Um,
I,
yeah,
I got a joke about the Fast and the Furious. Why I don't watch it. I watched one,
yeah,
and these guys were driving at about 80 miles per hour. Both of them were driving about 80 miles an hour, and they crashed. Came out of the car and started fighting. And I was thinking to myself, I don't know if I can watch this anymore. And then once they were on a concrete, what was it? These guys were in a concrete car park, and the car must have come off the second floor,
yeah.
crash, and the man drive and still come out and them a fight. And I'm like, if it doesn't technically ring right for me, yeah, even with a
You
seatbelt on
can't
or
watch
off,
it. Yeah,
I
man,
can't do it.
it's entertainment, man. It's
Can't do it.
entertainment.
Yeah. Do you read
So
books still?
yeah, I read books. Most of the stuff that I read now is about technology that I'm trying to keep abreast with. But yeah, I've read a few books recently. Um,
And you're talking about physical books, not online.
Not online, no, physical books. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I'm not. I ain't dealing with the paper at all. I'm not. If it's not, if I can't, if it's not an audible book, I'm never going to. You're never going to find me reading. I mean, I just got reading glasses like it feels like 4 months ago.
yeah.
And one day, you're in a restaurant one day, and all of a sudden your eyes just fall off. All of a sudden, you look at the menu like,
You
"What's happening
can't.
to me?" You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
it
man.
gets
I've
more and
been
more and
there.
more. But it was just like overnight for me, So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, so no. So we had a we I had a good time wherein reading books and stuff like that was a thing, and then
yeah.
and then as you get older and stuff, you're like, man, I'm not. Every time I put a book in front of me, I fall asleep. The
You
pages
want to
just
speak?
make me
Yeah.
fall asleep, But I think it's because you're you're trying to read while while you're tired, So
When you're tired, yeah, you have to read when you're fresh. Yeah,
I,
I don't read as often as I should in terms of books and self help and stuff like that. But I do try to get a book in maybe 2 books a year. My wife's an avid reader; she reads a lot. But I try to. I have so much stuff that I want to stay abreast on with some news thing that I'm trying to learn and some technology and stuff like that. I just want to keep abreast with. They're not very long. Sometimes like you said, I find them online and I do it that way or listen to the audio version. But there's some physical books. I have a couple at my nights on my nightstand right now that I
it's
have.
really nice that you keep current though, because you know a lot of time you can fall off with age. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Cognitively,
yeah,
so it's really nice that you keep you keep current. How do you
yeah.
manage your mental health?
Yeah, man, that's the thing. I don't let a lot of stuff bother me, Roger. I'm generally a happy person. Even my kids, they said, Dad, how come even when you're scolding me or scolding us, you're still smiling, right? I don't think too much on a lot of things. I don't get angry easily. Even people at work that I work with, they said, Adrian, we've never seen you mad.
Wow.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it for me to kind of lose my sanity over just trivial stuff. I don't blow off the handle type of stuff. Some people can really get upset for the smallest thing. So I am very tolerable. I have a very high tolerance, and I think that's what helps me to kind of remain even keeled. Is I see the best in people, and what I say sometimes when people don't meet your expectations, you just have to say they're doing the best that they can,
Right.
right? And so if you don't expect the moon, and if they fall short, so and in terms of managing my mental health, that's the thing. I try to have a very positive outlook. I try not to think of too much negative and what can happen. And that's what happens with mental health is you're thinking about all the negative, right? And then how that affects you.
If you have a
Because
really, really, really stressful day at work, real bad stressful day at work, and you walk in the house, what do you do?
Oh man, if you know what, some of these are just hypothetical for me, Roger, because
It's never
as I
stressful.
mentioned to you, the kind of work that I do and the reputation that I have is, I am kind of the go-to person. I'm the problem solver, right? So, I don't really have those kind of days where I
Okay,
might
okay,
have
okay, okay, Adrian. Let's push this boat out there. So, Adrian, you've got a large project you're working on. You've got lots
Mhm.
of eyes on you. You
Yeah,
know when the project is supposed to finish. You're in your project management software,
yeah,
and these dates are coming up, and the people that are executing the pieces of work are giving you dates, yeah,
yeah,
collectively. So say there's 12 or 13 of them, and
yeah,
you've got all these waymarks you need to make. And these
yeah,
dates are not where they're supposed to be. And you know
right,
this project is going to be upside down financially because it's time and materials.
yeah,
So it's really stressful. You're calling these people up, you're not getting, and it's your project, and you want to bring your
yeah,
project in, making money. So to me, for a
yeah,
project manager, that's a stressful time. What you're coming in, you're coming from work, and this is going on. You have to now report that your 2 months, the project's gonna be extended by 2 months. All the cussing, you're cussing people and telling them what you're gonna do to them if they don't adhere
yeah.
to where you need to be. You come in now and you vex. How do you manage that?
Oh, Roger, man, you're pushing my buttons here. So,
Hey, hey, come on, man.
no, no, how I manage that, first of all, as a project management practitioner, right? We always want to be proactive and looking ahead. And yeah, I use some project management software that allows me to kind of see kind of the impact of delays and stuff like that, right? So it's a matter of communicating to stakeholders early and often, right? So there are no surprises. But yeah, I know sometimes, you have resources that say they can do it in a certain period of time. But the thing is, once you escalate that up, or you let your sponsor know, or whoever it is that is paying the bills, that hey, we should have it done by this point, but instead of having kind of the full version, we can have this phase one. We could do it in phases. So once you communicate up, man, I leave that at work. I don't let my work come home and stress me out. I don't buy into that. If I'm the actual developer, if I'm the one doing the programming, which I've been for years, then I know I need to put in extra time. I don't let that become a burden on the delivery because I'm the one delivering it. But when you have team members who work 9 to 5, at 5 o'clock, they shut down and they're gone. For me, I've worked on projects where I pull all nighters to make it happen. So that's what I'm saying is I find the solution, right? I problem solve. And we're talking about working with resources. Um, I have friends who report to me on projects, and for me, it's not a friend thing at that point. I'll say to them, listen, you and I are friends, but this project is important, right? So we're going to put the friendship aside for now, but we're going to work on delivering what's needed on this project. And if we value the relationship, then once the project is over, then we're back to where we left off, right? So it's not as if, this guy can keep telling me, oh, Adrian, I'll get it done next week. I'll get it done next week. We need to get it done. If it doesn't happen, then we ask for an extension. I communicate that up quite early. So that's basically about stakeholder management, right?
I
In terms
thought you would have said like I would. I would have said, boy, Adrian, when me have a rough day, me always have some rare nephew. Yeah,
yeah,
stashed in the
that's cop
corner.
out. Yeah,
Yeah, with a little
yeah.
bit of Red Bull because I can't get the Jamaican boom to go with it.
The Jamaican
And
boom.
yeah,
You know what? That I'll use for celebration. I'll do that when I'm celebrating. But that's not gonna help me, man, to solve the problem. But yeah, that's no.
it makes me
I
feel better.
don't
It makes me feel better.
make you feel better. Eh? So that's what you do when you have a rough day at work.
Oh, definitely, man. I may have a lot
But
of those.
you're gonna need more than one drink though.
Oh, definitely. But remember, say, we're not 23 anymore. We're big man. You need the rum face so you can sleep good.
You just keep it's like a nightcap.
Yeah. So tell
Yeah,
me,
man. But
your So you said you had a nightcap of
yeah, the
rum cream.
rum cream
Okay.
and Appleton.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So,
That
so,
is
you-
my
so you're,
nightcap.
yeah, I think you're drinking for the same reason. It's just the timing. You need
Just the
yours to go
timing.
to bed because if you don't get it, you look like you're not gonna sleep. You'll be up playing with the software.
Hmm. Yeah,
when you
man.
think
So
when you think about the future, are you hopeful?
I'm hopeful and a little bit trepidatious about the future, especially for the younger people. Like for people in our age group, Roger, gone through, we've done the career, we've did what we need to do to kind of come to this point in our life where we're close to retirement or already retired. Some of us are retired. I'm close to retirement, and you can see that. Yeah,
What does
yeah.
retirement mean to you?
Retirement just means maybe not doing 9 to 5, but I'll never retire. I'll
I
never
feel the
not.
same way.
Yeah, because
I thought you were one of those guys that think, oh, I can't wait to retire and go on the porch and
no, 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 no.
Go to Jamaica and live behind the burglars bar them and them in bed
No,
and pray till morning light because the 1800 people are dead and blah blah. No, 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 no.
no, no.
I think I'll work till I croak it. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, same here. I mean, just do something different. Like I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning that, although I'm in the IT field, I'm also a realtor. My wife and I, we actually have our real estate license, and
Okay.
we have
Any of you
investment
a
property.
broker? Any of you a broker?
My wife is a broker.
Oh, so you're keeping everything under one roof.
Yeah, we
That's
can keep everything
nice.
under one roof, man.
Okay,
So
that's
she's
nice.
a broker, and so we have investment properties and stuff like that. So that's what I want to do when I quit the 9 to 5. So we'll constantly be developing more real estate that we want to purchase and manage and stuff like that,
That's
and of
nice.
course help others to get to the dream of home ownership if that's what they really want, right? So yeah, so in terms of the future for us, I think you know I'm happy with the trajectory and where we're going, but it's for the younger people, right? The people that especially my kids that like my kids' age. My son is 33. I have a daughter who's 29. For them, home ownership and to kind of have the kind of career that we've had, um, really not optimistic about the lifestyle that they can have, based on our lifestyle. I don't think their lifestyle will be like ours.
Okay, yeah.
So that's why you're
No,
seeing
very
now a
true.
lot of, pardon me?
No, that's very true. Very, very true. I
Yeah.
mean, times are changing so rapidly.
Yeah.
But then what's funny is I remember a time in England when my parents or your friends' parents were never out of a job. Never. You did,
No. Yeah.
you could talk about socialism or whatever, but your parents would walk out of a job on Wednesday and start the new job on Thursday. Whatever is in manufacturing, factory work, or
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever they done back in the day. But nowadays, you know what I mean? Here you have to be optimizing your performance on your job daily, making
Yeah.
sure you're outperforming your peers,
I know.
or trying to, you know what I mean? And just keeping
Yeah.
your A game up because you don't want to be, when the quarter comes up and they're making their cuts, you
Yeah.
want it very difficult for you to be one of them.
Yeah. Exactly. You have to. My philosophy is to make your presence felt.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I've got a
I
nice
don't.
question for you. Sorry, sorry.
Yeah. Go
How
ahead.
do you make your presence felt? I like that, but I've got a question that I'm gonna ask you that I had missed. But go ahead. How do you make sure your presence felt in the workplace?
You know what? By going over and above what's asked of you. or it's on your job description, and just bringing some of the skill sets or the skills that I've learned over years in terms of software and processes, how to systematize certain things. Because I know software really well in terms of even the Microsoft Office products and even custom products. Being a developer, I sometimes can look at the way that a person does something in the office, and I can optimize it. I can take 10 steps and I can break it down into 2 steps, right? I can optimize it. And by optimizing it, I'm not necessarily optimizing it not only for my own team, but I also do it for other teams where, it's kind of, I'm just helping them to be better, helping them to do better, do their jobs more efficiently. So by doing that, you find that, you kind of become the go-to person, right? I remember going on an interview maybe 10, 12 years ago. It was a long time ago. And the director or VP who I was going to be reporting to, at the end of the conversation, I said, my job is to make you look good, right? So kind of no matter what it takes, basically. So, if they can say, Adrian's on my team and, Adrian is always a step ahead, um, of what I need type of thing. So making your presence felt. I don't need the recognition. I don't need, to get the fanfare, but I just like to know that I'm making a difference, right? Being proactive and being observant to see where you can be of service.
Where did you get
So
that work ethic from? Your granddad?
I think so, man. My granddad worked after he left Mannings. He's a Mannings graduate. He worked for the sugar estate all his life until he retired at 65. So he worked for the sugar estate for 45. I don't remember exactly how many years, Roger, but he said he worked for 45 years and 6 months or some 42 years and 6 months.
Wow.
He worked in that one organization, and I never see him take a day off. Um, um, you know, he used to take a drink, but he'd only drink on weekends. He would only drink on weekends. He doesn't drink during the week. And
Don't say he doesn't drink like like drinking is a bad thing, you're talking to the
no,
wrong
no, I'm
person,
not saying it's a bad thing, but he didn't
Okay.
drink during the week.
Okay,
He drank
okay.
on the weekends.
Okay.
So during the week, he knew he had to get up to go to work and stuff like that. But yeah, it was very, very. He was an accountant. This guy, doing the accounting, doing the books without a calculator.
Wow.
That's how sharp he was. Everything was
You
all
know what I
mental.
notice about everyone that lives over that Froome compound? They're
Yeah,
all what we would call fair skinned people. Is there a link between living on the Froome compound and skin complexion?
I don't think so, Roger. I think that theory is
No,
crap, man.
but
That theory.
so I interviewed Peter Rigg, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he lived over Froome,
Yeah.
and I think Marlene Smith, she lived
Marlene
over
Smith. Yeah.
yeah over Froome,
Yeah.
and then
Who
there's
else?
you, and
And
then there's
there's
you.
me. Okay.
You know what I mean? So I'm just hey, it could be something historical.
Could be. Could
Yeah,
be.
and you probably don't even realize it. That all the
No,
little
no.
kids that went to your little primary school, yeah,
Yeah.
probably wore a nice little uniform with nice little shorts, and you all in attires, and you all spoke well, yeah,
Oh yeah,
and
for
didn't speak
sure.
patois. Well, there you go. So, and they probably all look like you too. You know what I mean? Were there any
Somewhat. Yeah.
Africans in your prep school like me?
Yeah, man. We had some. I
So
don't know if you're
here,
African, but you're not African, but I'm African too. But yeah, we had a good mixed population there for sure.
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, so not all of them were light skinned or fair skinned. But yeah,
okay.
we'd enjoy going over to the officers club. There's a club there where officers would go and drink and we play pool and billiards and stuff like that. So
Okay.
that was kind of my Friday evening after school. Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What happens to us when we die, Adrian? In your world, what do you
in
think
my world.
happens? Yeah, when we die, yeah, when we expire, what do you really
Yeah.
believe happens to us?
You know, nobody knows for sure, Roger, but we just have to have faith that whatever we believe in, and we believe that, we will be born again or risen again when the Lord comes for us. So when we die, of course, your body died, but your soul is liberated, and at some point, your soul and your body will reconnect. That is what I think, or I believe, happens when you die. So the soul gets liberated, and the body goes into the ground if you're being buried. And then when the Lord comes back for us, then we all go up to heaven.
Okay, and you believe
Again,
that?
this is it's a theory, but we have to believe if we read the Bible, and we know that the Bible is written by or inspired by God. So it's just a matter of having faith, and you have to have faith in something, right? It's like the electricity. You don't know. I don't know how electricity works, but you use it, right? You just plug something in and you expect it to get charged. So we have to have faith in something that will happen to us when we pass.
You keep on saying we. You should
All
say
right, I'm
I
not gonna
have.
say we. I'm gonna say
No, no, no,
I.
no, no.
I'm gonna say I. But we on my side here. Be on my side. Okay.
I'm only joking with you, man.
I know.
Oh
I know,
dear, no,
man.
no.
I
I'm having fun here. So hey, I'm really grateful that you spent the time to speak with me, man. We're over an hour now. This is really really good.
know.
I
Yeah.
I really want to have a forum where we talk to other people and we can just chat just like this. But you'll be
Yeah.
surprised how many people aren't comfortable being on camera and stuff. It's like pulling teeth from a chicken. So I'm really grateful that you're able to rope in, man, and talk to me. Thank you very much, man.
Yeah. My pleasure, man. I mean, I don't think I have an issue being on camera. I
You're made
don't
for
go.
TV.
No, made for TV.
Yeah, yeah. It's really funny though. Since Zoom, not since Zoom, since COVID, Teams and Skype
Yeah.
and Zoom are all big things. So I
Of
think
course.
we all should be used to it by now. You know what I mean? So
Oh
it's
yeah.
all good, all good, all good. All
Yeah.
right, Adrian.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, beautiful wife, for allowing you to do this as well. Cause I know, say sometimes you have to you have to work on the spouse as well and say, hey,
Oh yeah.
so
Oh yeah.
all
My
good,
wife
all
and I,
good.
we're a team, man. We're a team.
Nice,
We're on the
nice,
same team. Yeah. We've
good,
been
good.
together now 37 years, so
Wow.
going strong.
Nice, nice.
Yeah,
You
man.
do
Love
realize
it.
that if you committed a crime, you'd be out on parole by now, yeah?
Yeah, we are
I
free man
real,
now.
I real see, I real serious. So 37 years, that's a
Yeah.
long time. Yeah, yeah.
Long time.
Cool. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, man.
It's a blessing. Thank you very much,
Yes, sir.
Adrian.
My pleasure, Roger. Thanks a lot for having me. And we look
Respect.
forward to speaking to you again soon. All right.
All right, man.
Take care.
Cool,
Bye
cool.
bye.